Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We got a really fun one today. Porn addiction with my brother Huds here. As you've seen, Huds has been on the channel a few times now, and we're definitely doing some stuff behind the scenes, which we'll get into later. Yeah, we're really excited to talk about this one. Porn is something that I think is kind of one of those hidden addictions that kind of no one really talks about, but yet hundreds and millions of people deal with it. There hasn't been a guy, to be honest, that hasn't had a struggle with porn at some point. So we're definitely going to dive into this. Huds, thanks for coming on today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And cool. We'll start off with Huds. When was the first time you watched porn?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know what it's like for everybody, but for me, the first time I watched porn was seventh grade. So whatever that age is, whether it's is that like 12, 13, something like that.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and I always remember that because uh, that was during the time where not everybody had like iPhones or iPads or laptops. We just had the one home computer, so I was using the
Oh, yeah.
family home computer for it, and I got caught, and that was incredibly embarrassing when my dad caught me. And I mean, it didn't stop me. It didn't hinder me. I stopped doing it for a while. But I just remember when the first taste of it, I was blown away by how much stuff was out there, and I just wanted to consume it all. So it was interesting. I definitely have had my struggles over the years. What about you? When's the first time you looked at porn?
Well, guys, we can just probably cut this one short because my story is exactly the same as yours, man. Yeah, about that age, I had the dial-up internet, so it took like 30 minutes for an image to load, and pun intended. And I just remember searching what I searched, and I didn't delete the history. So just like you, man, I got caught. And I remember my parents sat me down one day, and they're like, "Joel, we know what you looked up on the internet." And the embarrassment, man, it hit deep. And they're like, "Yep, no computer for 2 weeks." And what I look back now is that they didn't really talk much about it afterwards. Like they weren't
Mm,
like, what was your experience? Like, what we're curious, like what made you want to look it up, right? Like this is stuff that if I had a kid right now and I caught them watching porn, I'd be more curious and try to get to know what their experience is and try to maybe educate them a little bit. For
mm,
me, it was like a shameful act. It was like
yeah.
something I did that was like evil, right? What I'm curious, did you grow up in like a church, or did you go to church with your family at all? That kind of thing,
Yeah, yeah.
religion.
I'm wondering if it has something to do with their own ideals. My dad was very religious, and like I even went to a Catholic high school. We went to church growing up, like almost every Sunday, at least until like high school. So, yeah, I really wish, as you said, that they kind of educated me on it, so I had a better understanding. But instead, they made it into a shameful act that then I would absolutely just want to hide away from them, instead of
Mhm.
maybe understanding things a little bit better. So that's a good point.
Dude, totally. Like, no wonder we get along. We both grew up Catholic. Duh. And yeah, so that Catholic guilt, right? Don't talk, don't tell, and just hide it under the rug. So yeah, same with you. Yeah, definitely shameful. And yeah, so continuing forward, got caught, and just remember from there on, I was hooked though. I was like, man, I gotta find ways to get into this. So we had a little brother at the time, and I would babysit them. And whenever the parents would leave to go on their date, I was like, dude, free reign, porn for days, man. And I just remember like part of the excitement was like checking to see if anyone was watching. You know, you're in the middle of the living room and you're just like peeking over your shoulder and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that was definitely something. And I remember too, like I was in Boy Scout camp, and that was the first time we saw like a nudie magazine because we found one. Some of the guys found one in the woods, and I just remember too, like our Boy Scout leader was just like, it had just like been like we found a gun. It was like he's like, he got very serious. It was like,
Mm.
oh shit, that's probably a sign that this isn't a good thing to have. So yeah, continuing. When for you, what progressed after that first time for you watching porn?
Sure. So It was kind of intermittent then, and then once I got my own computer. I don't remember if I did much on the laptop because I think I still had because I got a laptop when I was going to high school, and I think I still felt a ton of shame. So I didn't watch porn for a while. But then once I built myself a desktop computer, like nice big monitors and stuff. I don't know. One day it happened, and I started watching porn a lot. Let's just say a lot. And ever since then, it's always been kind of like an ebb and flow, like where sometimes I was really into watching a lot of porn, and then there were other times where I was busy, so I didn't have the time or didn't have the interest as much. But there are definitely periods of time where it was a lot, and I'm one of those types of people who doesn't just pull it up, find a video right away. I've had times where I spend hours, and it's just such a time sink.
A lot of people fall into that category, right? Where they spend a lot of time. So I don't think you're alone in that. And like in certain support groups too, like people will say that they spend like hours watching porn. What about it? And this is one thing we talked about. Like, what about it like fascinated you? Like, got you hooked, basically.
I think it's the novelty. Like there are so many different looking girls. There's so many different types of scenes. Like when you look at the full list of different categories, it's just mind blowing, and I wanted to see everything.
See it all, 100%, dude. Isn't it crazy? Like looking back, like there's like memory banks of all these girls that. And like sometimes they'll still pop up once in a while because I've been off it for a bit. But I'll like dream sometimes where I'll be some of those chicks will be like popping in my dreams, and it's crazy. And I think it really, for a lot of guys, it cures that loneliness wound, that feeling that I don't. I think you might have felt this as well growing up, that girls don't like me, right? Like I'm weird. Like I was like you and I were similar. We played Yu-Gi-Oh. We played video games, right? We were kind of nerds in that sense. So the idea of getting girls was just something that was kind of foreign. And so for me, especially, it made me feel that I wasn't alone and that like girls did like me. Of course, when I got into reality, though, it was like I would go to school and then it would be the same Joel, right? So how did that play for you? Like, what kind of maybe wound did that heal for you, or did it serve a purpose besides just the novelty of it?
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely relate to that. And definitely the periods of my life where I was sleeping with more women or I had a girlfriend that I was seeing pretty frequently. Those were times where I wasn't watching a lot of porn. So definitely kind of like fulfilling that need, that sexual need, when you didn't have somebody else to fulfill it for you. It
Mhm.
definitely, those were times where using it a lot more.
Yeah. And when you had like, how did it affect your relationship then with like, and your ability to get a girlfriend, for example?
Yeah. So I find that when you're jerking off to porn a lot, you don't have the same drive to actually get a girl. So um, I would notice like if I was going out like a night in college, if I'm going out for the night and I end up jerking off before I go out, I don't have the same like spark that I would if I didn't. And so
Yeah.
while normally I would, be a lot more flirty and talking to a lot more girls and maybe something happens, I just kind of chilled out, hung with the boys, talked to as like few women as possible. So I definitely experienced that a lot, and I definitely have seen that happen a lot. I mean, there's one thing that I said that went a little viral, at least in my book of viral, when I put out a reel on Instagram, and I had said, "Porn is a privilege, not a right," and I really like that one because essentially what that's saying is that not everyone should be allowed to look at porn. If you can't get women, if you're not in a relationship, I don't care what people say, you shouldn't be watching porn because you need to get that piece of your life sorted out. Now,
Mm.
when you do get into a relationship and you are successful with women, that's where porn being a privilege comes in. That I think there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with looking at porn when you've got that area of your life sorted. So that's why I think it's a privilege, not a right. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that blew my mind when you told me that the other day. Like, I had never heard those words used in the same sentence before. And it makes a lot of sense, right? Like, because I definitely relate to when guys are first starting out and dating, or they're just so anxious with women, that getting porn out of one's life is going to be huge. It's going to help with, like, not just from like a spiritual sense, but with a neurobiological sense, right? Because when you watch porn, when you look at pornography, it jacks up like serotonin, dopamine, and it releases so much oxytocin that I think that's what gets a lot of guys hooked. And I was the same as you, man. Like in high school, I remember, I don't know why, but I read somewhere that like it's good to jerk off before hanging out with girls because they can sense it. Like
That was the dumbest. That was from like a old movie that just kept they kept mentioning it as time went on. It was such a bad misconception.
terrible. Do you remember what movie it was?
No, I'd have to look it up again. But I know that's where it began.
Okay. Yeah, because that's yes, that is where it came from. And so I would like, yeah, watch porn, jerk off before hanging out with girls. And um I was just such like I acted like such a little boy, like afterwards. I know testosterone left. I became very feminine. And I noticed now too that when I don't like masturbate for a few days, I have a lot more testosterone and my
Mhm.
voice is deeper, all the above. So coming full circle here, yeah, I think the real important thing to recognize, guys, is like, is porn okay for you? For me, I can't watch it. I get too hooked. I'll just be like I just got to stay away from it. Guys like Huds, though, he doesn't have that such an addictive pull with it, so it is a privilege for him, and he can do it. You can do it on a regular basis and be fine with it, especially since you have mastered dating and with women. I see now that how that is a privilege. What is your current use with it? Like how often do you watch it? Do you watch it with your partner? Kind of anything like that?
Yeah, so I would say it's probably it depends. It could be once a day, it could be once every other day, it could be once every 3 days, it could be once a week. It really depends on what's going on in my life. But yeah, it's really just whenever I have the time and I'm in the mood, sure. Like I'll throw something up and maybe just one of the other things that I know we had talked about. I sometimes look at porn and don't jack off. Like I just don't. So I'll sit and watch porn for a while, and there's something about it that I do. Like I appreciate the art behind porn. So like I will in the same way that some people like watch a TV show or they take a break from something and they're watching like 30 minutes of whatever. I may take a break from what I'm working on and watch 30 minutes of porn and not jerk off. It's I know it sounds weird, but it's just I don't know. I enjoy it. I mean, I think it's another piece of the addiction part because when you're watching all this porn, your dopamine is firing off like crazy in your brain. And so that's why I think it can become so addicting and so destructive for men because the longer you're doing that, the more you're having a specific experience with dopamine's going crazy. And then when that dopamine's not going crazy in the regular everyday life, things get boring, and then you just can't wait to get back to watching more porn. And that's how you can it can turn into sessions of like 4 hours of watching porn. And you look at the time and you're like, what the hell just happened here?
Right, man. That was beautifully said. I think you're gonna have to take over the channel because that was smooth. Respect. I mean, well said, guys. Like that's exactly it. It just you become the only way you can feel pleasure is with the substance, and as we know that happens with other addictions as well. Is there anything more you wanted to touch on with it being a privilege rather than a, you know, because I think we deviated from that pretty quickly, but anything else on that you wanted to touch
No,
on?
no, I think I kind of explained it well. Essentially that if you can't get girls and you're not in a relationship, unless you don't want to be in a relationship, then hey, watch as much porn as you want. But I think that if you're trying to solve certain things in your life and trying to be successful in dating and otherwise, it's probably pretty good to avoid it, and just recognize too if things start to get out of control. Like, I know we've got jokes and memes on Instagram of like whatever, like I think like Friday Beers and stuff has them where it's like page 227 on Pornhub on like a late Friday night after like going out. Like that's a real thing. It's a real thing, and I've experienced it. I'm sure a lot more guys than they would like care to admit have the same issue. So just be aware of it, and if it does become a problem, take steps to resolve it. I know I had to do that a couple times. I don't remember the exact times, but now that I'm speaking about that, I really did. It took a lot of discipline, but I had to completely quit porn. I think like twice in my life, once in high school and maybe once in college. I'd have to think more on that, but yeah, I know I had to go through it in the past. So just something to
And
think
how
about.
absolutely, man. The shame that can come with it too, especially like that was what it was for me. Like I would go out and I would watch porn and then I would try to interact with people and I like couldn't make eye contact. I couldn't look you in the eye because
Mm,
I just known that I'd just basically spanked it to a stranger and I'm just like, this doesn't feel very wholesome. And people pick up on that too, especially women. And so I think that's great advice that if you want to have a dating life, let go of porn, at least for the time being, so you can experience that and rewire the brain so you can start to get that pleasure from actually interacting with women in real life. And I'll tell you one thing, it's a totally different beast, man. Like the first time I lost my virginity, I remember because I had been watching porn my whole life. I literally thought, I was like it wasn't anything like what I thought it was going to be because and I like for some reason I thought it was just going to be like just like a porn fantasy or a porn video, but it's not.
mhm.
It's like it's it's way different. Obviously, with porn they set it up so there's certain angles that look good. They're going for like 8 hours sometimes, right? So it's all an act. I just remember even too, like after I finished, I was like, I kind of wish I would have just watched porn. And that's how strong of a pull it had on me, even after I quit for a while. So yeah, great advice, guys. Get rid of porn if you can to improve your dating life. Huds, how did you quit porn then when you had to those couple times you did? What did you do?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there were any specific like ways I limited myself outside of yeah, I'm trying to think. I know what I would do is when certain itches would come, if you replace it with something else, like maybe
Mm,
replacing it with a photo of something instead of an image, something like that, to slowly start to dwindle it down until it gets to the point where you can masturbate with just your imagination. So it's I don't know if there was anything I really did other than, okay, Alex, you can do this day, but that means you can't do tomorrow, and then you can do the day after, like splitting it like that, and then trying to increase the time between watching porn. That's another way of doing it. But it
perfect.
does, it just requires a lot of willpower, and also, and in the same way that they say this for a lot of addictions, if you have too much free time, you're probably going to use. So
Mm,
if you can try and fill up your time, or at times when you're not doing anything and the urge strikes, go do something, and
yeah.
you'll see once you start filling out your days more, you have less time even for it, and you won't think about it as much. That'll make it a lot easier. But if you're just sitting around doing nothing, it's going to make it very, very difficult for you to just not look at it.
Yeah, 100%. And especially if you're single, it's a different beast. If you're in a relationship and you have that escape kind of to go through. I was the same, man. I just had to practice that discipline, really work on, going to the gym if I was feeling the urge or calling a friend, talking about it with somebody like, yo, dude, I just really want to watch porn right now. And after talking about it for 5 minutes, it's like, okay, the urge comes and goes, pun intended. And there's also some other things like support groups, right? I can't say them by name, but I mean, you can just search porn recovery support groups and it'll come up. Again, pun intended. And those are really, I, I love sex puns, and they're really helpful. They're really powerful, because it's a group of guys, usually guys that are in part of this groups, like, and they've all struggled with this addiction, and a lot of them have gotten through it. So when you're hanging around people that have gone through the ringer, have gone through the withdrawal process, know what it's like on the other side. It's like, wow, this is possible. And if I just stay disciplined and follow what this program is suggesting, there's a chance that I could be in that same boat too. It's going to be hard too. I really like, oh my, okay, I'm done. There's, I, I really like what you said, Huds, about taking it slow and steady, right? Like, so
Mhm.
going one day off, one day on, one day off, one day on. And I say this a lot for on my channel for other addictions, right? Like, eventually that becomes easy, where it's like, okay, one day one off, one day on is like boring now. It's like, I'm not, I'm not excited anymore. Like, then it's time to step it up. So 2 days off, one day on, 2 days off, one day on. That gets easy. And then keep extending that time. And then one day, this is what I found. I look back, I'm like, wow, I'm only watching porn like once a week. Like, most of my life now is without porn. And then it's a lot easier to take that plunge into saying, okay, I'm good, I'm done for good, right? Because you already have built up that habit of not using it. So I think that's a great tip.
Yeah. And also, it'll, I mean, I don't know if this is the best advice to say, but you build up a tolerance to porn the more often you're watching it, the less exciting it is. I have to say, like when there was a period of time where I did not watch for months, and then I finally watched porn again for the first time. Oh Lord, was that an exhilarating experience?
Yeah,
Let's
dude.
just say it's pretty it's a trip, it's a ride. So that's why it's so important that if you even are going to have it be a part of your life, to space it out, because otherwise one of the biggest things that Sterling Cooper, he's a former porn star and men's self-help guy. He's talked about it before, and I've talked a little bit with him about it. When guys get so addicted to watching porn, then they can't perform in the bedroom with a girl. It's not
Mm,
stimulating enough. So then
right.
they're like 20 something years old or early 30s, unable to get an erection when they're out on a date, and they think they got ED and something's wrong with them, but it's all mental. And then they think that, okay, I can just do like Blue Chew or one of those things and start taking pills and it'll solve the problems. And a lot of times it doesn't, because it's not the problem. The problem is here. It's not anything physical. So that's another one that's it very, very detrimental if you're watching too much porn.
Oh, 100%. And guys, there's, yeah, a ton of channels on that when guys come in and they're like, dude, I can't get it up. What's wrong with me? It's like, there's nothing wrong with you. And then let's take a look at your porn use. And most of the guys are watching porn. I've actually found the opposite at this point because I don't watch porn anymore. I've had to work on the opposite, like not going too quick. So it's just like,
Yeah.
it's like,
Hmm.
oh my God, this is awesome. Slow down, Tiger. And so
Yeah.
that's another beast in itself. Yeah. So Huds, you were saying too, like, so Huds is a dating coach. Let's just transition to this. And you were saying that it's important for guys to get out and start dating, and that might really help some of these issues, maybe with porn addiction, maybe with feeling that loneliness. What are some things you suggest for guys to do right away to get out and start dating, especially if they haven't in their whole life and they're just like been in their bedroom masturbating all the time?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, I would say your best thing to do first is to, I would say, okay, I was going to say get a coach, but I think the best thing you can do first is start to familiarize yourself with some of the information that's out there. And so that's kind of your shopping around process. So you would find people like me, you would find people like Lloyd, who we had done a show with yesterday. We were talking with the single guy, or any of these other people that are out there. Start just watching some of these videos and absorbing some of the information, and then go ahead and pick somebody that you want to work with, and you can turn your dating life around very quickly. I mean, we were talking about this yesterday. If you've got the right coach and you've got the right attitude, you can get good with women in as little as 6 months. It's really that simple. So I think that that's really important. First, you need to familiarize yourself with kind of how the dating market works and identify some of your weak points, and then work with somebody to really get it going. And they'll help
Mm,
you with what exactly you need to do, whether that be how to set up your online dating app, what to say on the dating app so that you actually get the date, what to say or where to go to meet women, and then what to say when you meet those women. Like, they'll give you all this information, and then as long as you just put the work in, it can happen fairly quickly, and you can start breaking the cycle.
yeah. Great advice, man. And I think it's cool too to have multiple mentors. So don't just, if you like a couple guys' content, like combine it into your own, right? Because at some point you're going to have to make your own program essentially. Take different
Hmm.
pieces of like some things from Huds, some things from Lloyd, some things from Trip. Trip was the guy I went to for my first dating coach, Trip Advice, and he's got a big channel. And he's very like he's very practical. What I found though is that it really did help me in those first 3 months. Like, get out there. I started getting dates regularly. I started learning how to overcome that approach anxiety. At some point, though, I had to level up the game. So then I transitioned. Right, I transitioned to other guys in the space. And today, like, I mean, I'm getting advice from you, man, and it's really starting to rework how I'm viewing things. I mean, just yesterday we were on the call with Lloyd, right? And you guys were saying like it's important to get out and start using dating apps. And I had actually deleted them for a while, and I totally forgot about it. And so yesterday I started them up again, and I got a date Sunday, and I got a potential couple of dates this week, and it's like, thank you, Huds and Lloyd.
Yeah.
Like, fuck yeah.
That's great.
That's what you'll find with coaching is that motivation to get out there and start doing it, because really all it is, it's your own mental block saying that I can't get women, etc. And then when you have a normal guy like Lloyd, like Hud's here saying, dude, you of course you can do it. Like I did it. It's like, well, if these guys can do it and this guy played Yu-Gi-Oh, I think I'll be okay. So it's yeah, it's really exciting nowadays where you can get out there and meet anybody on the internet, find coaching for anybody. If people do want to work with you, Huds, how would they find you?
Oh yeah, sure. So down below, my IG. That's the easiest way to reach out to me. From the link tree there, you can actually just go ahead and schedule a initial consult if you like. It's free, 30 minutes. We'll talk about whatever and what type of direction you want to go, and see if we're a fit for one another. And then also, it. I mean, even just messaging me or signing up for something, if you wanted to talk about porn addiction, um, I I will be a lot more raw with you than I may be on here. I have struggled with this. I have consumed a lot of porn, and so I'll be able to relate with you and help you out any way that I can.
Thanks, Huds. I'll actually comment right now. I'll just put his info in the comment section, so you guys can check that out. And actually, if you'd be comfortable, like, what are some of those biggest struggles you've dealt with porn? Feel free to go raw too.
Yeah, yeah. I'm when I said raw, I'll talk a little bit more in here, but when I say raw, like, I don't want to get into deep graphic information, and that's why that would be something
Oh,
I would
gotcha.
talk to one on one with somebody. But yeah, there have been times where I need to get something done or whatever, and I just end up watching porn for like 2 hours, and nothing got done. Or it like another thing that happens with me is if I get like severe anxiety, sometimes I jump straight to porn instead, because I know it's going to be something that will fully take my mind off of whatever is giving me anxiety in the moment. And that's a really, really unhealthy way of dealing with it. I think that you should find more healthy, natural ways of dealing with anxiety than trying to run away to a vice. So yeah, that's and man, it's been many times where I've been one of those types of people who ends up doing those long marathon sessions, and I'm not being productive. staying up too late into the night, or I'm disrupting how my flow of my day is going. So I've been through the ringer when it comes to porn. I've been good with it. I've been bad with it. I've been really bad with it. So it's a beast.
It's a beast. Yeah, dude, that's a good point you bring up about the time wasting. It does suck a lot of time, man. And an hour can go by in the snap of a finger, especially when there's just loads of women or guys, if that's what you're into, stuff to look at. It's endless, man. It's one of the biggest industries in the world. I think it might
Mhm.
be the biggest industry. It makes the most money, which is just insane, right?
Yeah, sex sells. And another one, here's another one that I just thought of. So one of the things with consuming so much porn, there's certain expectations that you have based on the types
Mhm.
of porn that you're watching. And so then when you actually do get with a woman and you're going to have sex, like it's not going to match up. Like maybe you're expecting all these crazy things, or maybe you have specific fetishes and you go for these fetishes and it just causes all types of problems. And because that's the worst thing in the world. And that's why I think that
Mm.
proper sex education is it, like that's why we should have that talk. Like when both of our parents found us with the porn, we should get the education on these different things instead of treating it as taboo and not saying anything, because there's lots of crazy fetishes and stuff out there. And so if you're learning and you're attracted to things that may be really far to the aggressive side, then you go to do something like that with somebody without communicating with them or finding out if they're even interested in it. It creates such a confusion in the head, and it can cause a lot of problems. So that's one thing that I want to note as well. Like as you said, like sometimes like you would have sex and it's like, oh man, like wish I just watched porn instead. It won't be as exciting as some of the things that you see online, but it's not supposed to be, because it's not a piece of art. It's not a movie as porn is supposed to be. It's real
Mm.
life. It's different.
Mm. Yeah, there's actual people involved. There's energy, give and take. That's a great point, Huds. And even going off that a little bit, like it can get dangerous, guys. Like some people that are come to the support groups, they're in deep shit with the law because, like you said, you get, what do you call it, desensitized. So what a lot of
Hmm.
happens to a lot of guys is they keep going deeper and deeper to try to get that same fix, and before they know it, they're on stuff that they shouldn't be on, and stuff gets involved and it becomes really bad. In my old apartment, one of my neighbors got arrested because I think they found stuff on his computer, and it's just like,
Mm.
he was a young dude, probably he was an adult, so he obviously is going to get trialed as an adult, but it's just scary to see that shit, man. It's like, whew, like your life can be over completely. And a lot of people too have kids, they have families and stuff, and it's their kind of secret thing. I think especially in the religion world, like a lot of people that are religious struggle with porn addiction,
Mm.
especially in the Christian community, especially with Catholicism. And I like you said, Huds, I think a big part of that is because we aren't educated as kids on
Hmm.
what healthy sexuality is, right? We were in health class and they showed us diagrams, and everyone's like, "Yeah, fuck, that's weird." Um, but it was awkward and uncomfortable, and the teachers were uncomfortable, and they just like, "Let's get this over with." To really sit down with someone. And that's what's great again about dating coaching, about getting out there and meeting guys that have gone through it like Huds, is that you can really start to be open and talk about some of this stuff, that those deep questions that were never answered as a kid. And
Mm.
it just normalizes it, humanizes it. It's like, dude, hell yeah, we're sexual beings. Like we're on this earth to enjoy that part of life, maybe not in a hedonistic sense, but in the sense that it's two people connecting, right? So getting out there, I'm going to drop the link, or I'm going to drop the comment again. Again, if you want to talk with Huds personally about some of this stuff, guys, like addiction to porn, how to get better with women, and beat this part of your life, there's the link right there. You can sign up with him, and he does offer great value too, because some of the dating coaches can be expensive. Um, with our boy Lloyd, like some guys charge a premium, and
Hmm.
you charge a great price. So I really appreciate that. Anything else you want to riff off that?
No. Yeah, I think we've covered a lot of good stuff so far. Because porn addiction it's a very real one, and people don't really understand the dangers of it until they look at them. I mean, what you had said was really interesting because I've experienced it too. Like when you after like masturbating and looking at porn, you don't really want to look people in the eye. I've had that experience as well, and I just kind of feel like a bum, and I a lot of shame. And if you could just remove that from your life, things would be so much better. So it's definitely something that if you're struggling with, you got to. I mean, you don't have to, but I would say definitely look into getting a handle on it
Yeah,
because it affects
absolutely.
far more than you think. And it's only until those side effects of like not being able to like experiencing ED, um, being desensitized to things and trying to chase the rabbit hole, um, being a huge time waster, like all this stuff. It sometimes it's not until it's like too late and unmanageable that you realize there's a problem, and then it's a lot harder to walk things back than it would be if you kind of recognized it sooner on.
100%. Yeah. Sometimes once you get too big in the hole, too deep in the hole, yeah, pun intended, here we go. It,
Mhm.
it takes a lot of work to get out of it. And so the sooner you can start, the better. 100%. That's why when young guys come to my channel, I really encourage them, like, get a handle on this, guys. Like, this is awesome that you're working on this now, because as you know, like when you go to these support groups, you see a lot of old folks, a lot of people that didn't deal with it when they were young, and now they're in their 50s, 60s trying to sort everything out. And I cannot even imagine having that much time behind me, having to work through 50 years of stuff. Like, who 18 working through 20 years of stuff was took years. Like, can't
Mhm.
even imagine doing that. One thing too I wanted to touch on a bit was NoFap. So what we've been talking about this whole last 40 minutes, a more kind of pop culture reference to what we're talking about is NoFap. NoFap is not watching porn and masturbating. What is your what are your thoughts on this NoFap movement? And
Um, I think no fat, which is the no jerking off. I think it's bogus. I think it's absolutely bogus. I think that refraining, like not masturbating every single day, there can be some benefits, but the benefits, at least from the research that I remember doing in the past, because I had looked into this, the research I've done in the past is like if you it's after like a certain amount after a certain period. I don't remember how many days it is, whether it's like 3 days or a week. Like after that period, like or during that period, yes, your testosterone is rising, but then after that period, it doesn't get any higher. It's not like it keeps going. It actually
mm,
can drop. And then if you're not ejaculating at all for a very extended period of time, it actually starts to go back down. So
oh wow.
um, I think that the idea behind NoFap probably began from good intention,
Hmm.
but I am not a proponent of it at all.
Wow, that's powerful, guys. I've definitely been on the NoFap journey for a while, and I've really struggled with it. So I appreciate that perspective, because you're so right. Like, once I get to like 5 days, like, I don't feel that glow anymore. I'm like, I feel bad, like real bad.
Hmm.
Like something's wrong. Like everything is revolves around sex. So I agree. Like, it can go overboard, and so I've had to find definitely a good balance where I can do it once or twice a week and be good, and just make sure that I'm doing it probably not before a live stream, or like when I want to be like on mentally, right?
Hmm.
Maybe when I have like some time off and I can just kind of relax and stuff. Yeah, that's really interesting that you say NoFap is not a good thing. So I think what I've learned is that a lot of the guys that do subscribe to NoFap and are like really gung ho, they're not the most masculine dudes, and that was the first kind of red flag. I was like, all the guys that seem to be doing really well with women say no fap is bullshit, aka, Sterling Cooper, who's the other guy, Justin Waller, all those guys that are Andrew Tate. He's like, no fap is bullshit, and
Hmm.
I was like, wait, what? Like, here these kings are saying don't do it. Like, it's stupid. And then I would watch a no fat video, and the guys are, maybe smaller guys. They're a little more feminine. I'm like, it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting.
Yep.
Sweet. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this has been a great talk, guys. Like, well, definitely it's a sensitive one, and it's something that I felt some discomfort through this talking about, because like I said, we said at the beginning, Huds and I both grew up Catholic. We never talked about this stuff. This is kind of the first time in my life I'm talking about it publicly. And it's an uncomfortable topic to look at. That being said, I think it's a really freeing one. And if you can get this under control in your life, I mean, you're just going to have a beautiful life, and the relationships are going to improve tenfold. Like you said, you get to look people in the eye. You get to have intimacy, real intimacy, not intimacy with a screen. And then, because I remember when I would beat off to porn, the emptiness I would feel afterwards, because I'd be like, this isn't real. Like, right as I was about to finish, I was like, like, I'm never going to see this person in real life. Like, the illusion broke. And that was probably the most agonizing part, is realizing, like, I'll never see these girls in real life. And then the negative talk started to come in. These girls wouldn't actually like me in real life, etc. Downward spiral.
Yeah, I definitely felt that, where I was like, I'm never gonna have a girl that hot. I'm never gonna have an ass that size. Like, I'm just never gonna. It did it. When I that was more back like in the high school era, but I had a lot of those like thoughts and doubts. Um, Granted that changed once I became good with women, but for a very long period of time, I almost didn't want to bother with women, because I would look at these gorgeous girls on porn and just think to myself, like, I'm never going to be able to get something like that, so why even bother?
100%, man. It totally kills self-confidence. Totally kills self-confidence. And you see the guys that are on the screen, it's like, what do they have that I don't? It's like, well,
Mhm.
they have a contract to do this movie. So yeah, man. So much we could talk about. And again, guys, we're going to talk about more of this in the future. So really appreciate you guys tuning in and being open to hearing this stuff. It's not an easy topic, as I said, but it's very freeing. Awesome. Yo, it looks like we got some comments. So let's dive into these. Dope. Let's see. So we got our homie. Still don't know how to pronounce your name, but we'll Psych. We'll call you Psych. God tells you to do no fap regardless. Yeah, interesting. If you could elaborate a little more on that, that'd be great. Ross, what's up, dude? And back to Psych. When I stop,
I I hope that's real. That's funny.
uh, when I stopped, I got attacked in my dreams by incubus succubus. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, he stopped, and then it was trying to pull him back to porn, or
100%.
yeah,
Yeah,
whatever exactly.
whatever.
It's just funny.
Yep. Andrew Tate said that he had sex days with women in his 20s and teens. He never experienced bad feelings. So, are you considering fapping and porn different from having lots of sex?
I would say so. Yeah. Um, there's some different chemical release from having sex versus just doing it yourself. So there definitely is a difference when it comes to that.
Yeah. And two, we're not meant to just watch porn like on a human level, biological level, spiritual level, right? This is just something that's come out in the last 100 years,
Yeah.
not even.
We're meant to have sex, not watch others have sex.
Yeah. Yep. Although that did exist in the older days for sure. Those weird like grottos and shit. Fapping is also saving you time. Instead of going to clubs to search girls, you save time. Fap 30 minutes and then go back to work. No.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree with you. It just depends on um, what you want to do. Like, I think that if you're on your grind and you just want the release, just do the release. Um, I wouldn't say. I mean, this almost sounds like, yeah, you could just do this. Why worry about getting girls? Well, you don't act like there's other ways to do it. Like, even with dating apps, spending 10 minutes a day just matching with girls and then talking to them briefly and then going on a date. You save a lot of time versus trying to go out and find a girl. But we can talk about that, I guess, probably at another time, the time difference. Because with clients that I work with that either own large businesses or they're very high up in the food chain, like directors and VPs, they don't have a lot of time, and so that's why for them, they don't understand what to do. And so I recommend the dating apps, and we set it up in a way that literally 10 minutes a day, they can do it while they're on the toilet, 10 minutes a day, and then they start to get things rolling. It doesn't interrupt anything with their life, and then they have their dates set up whatever night that may be, so there's no searching at the clubs or something.
Okay. Yeah, that does sound like a big save of time when you put it like that. Yeah, just going on the dating apps, and because going out does take some time, right? And then you got to build the courage to talk to people, etc. So yeah, I agree. There's a lot of different ways to do it, and again, it's like where you are in life. The way I'm reading your comment, Ross, is that uh, you want to be careful that it's not an excuse not to go out and face that part of your psyche if you haven't already, because I know that's what it was like for me. Like I didn't want to go out and face female rejection in the real world, so I was like, oh, it's way easier just to masturbate and jerk off. But eventually, again, like we've been talking about, that got old, and I'm like, okay, this is something I really want to tackle now and get a hold on. There's that movie Wolf of Wall Street where he's like, you got to jerk off 3 times a day to stay to stay grounded. But we're not on Wall Street. I don't work in that field. So again, yeah, great question, and going to be different for every person. Let's see, we got another one from Mr. or Mrs. Web Intelligence. Thanks for tuning on. The thing is that you guys felt bad about fapping. Why? I mean, the issue is when it takes much more time, right? So if you spend hours and hours, right?
So I would say I didn't always feel bad after fapping. It was more, yeah, at least for me, it was more when I'm spending all this time with watching so much porn. Like, it should be like 10 minutes, or even as Ross was saying, like maybe half an hour. But when you're turning that into a 2-3 hour session, yeah, I would feel a lot of shame after that.
And for me, the reason I felt bad was because I knew I wasn't encouraging that discipline muscle. I was pretty undisciplined for a lot of my life. I always just went to whatever pleasure was there. So I knew that fapping for me was a form of kind of escapism. And so that's why I felt bad, because I knew I wasn't living up to my standards and values of what I wanted to become and the person I wanted to be. So yeah, definitely. It's a question I think you got to answer for yourself, and I appreciate you asking it though, because it's a good question. So guys, yeah, that's all the comments. Huds and I have actually started a dating channel for men. It's called Men of Now. And basically, we're going to be talking about topics like this, talking about how to improve your dating life. I'm kind of doing like almost like mock trials of coaching, because I'm still newer into this. Huds is way more experienced. So you're going to get a lot of different variety, and I think be able to relate to wherever you are in your journey. We just had an awesome stream yesterday with Lloyd from The Single Guy. Real cool dude and kind of an OG in the space. So definitely check that vid out. And I'm gonna put our thing in the comments here. Sec.
Yeah, this show is going to be great because you get somebody like me who's doing this all the time, and then you get Joel who's been through it but still learning. So you'll see a lot of us go back and forth, where kind of like the expert and the student. And I think that's good for guys that are either just getting into it, or even if you're more advanced, some of the topics that I talk about, and then what the guests are going to be talking about is going to be more your wavelength. So literally wherever you are in your dating life, you're going to get value out of the stuff we're doing.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. We're really excited to get this going, and we have a lot of stuff planned for the future, a lot of awesome guests. As always, guys, if you have an experienced day in life and you want to come on the channel, reach out. We'd love to talk to you and just kind of meet you, get to know what your story is and stuff. Tune in this Thursday. We got a stream at 7 p.m. It's going to be about fashion and improving your fashion, guys. Like, something we're going to talk about is you can do it for cheap. You don't got to spend hundreds of dollars. This shirt was $250 from Express for Men on the clearance rack. It's fucking sick. It
And it
fits
looks
good.
good.
Thank you. Simple, guys. Target, Kohl's, Mr. Kohl's here on our left. You don't got to do any Dior, Balenciaga shit. You can literally spend less than $50 and get a great wardrobe, look good, and it really will improve how you're dating. Of course, like, vanity isn't everything, and it's only going to take you so far, but a lot of times it's about getting in the door. And when you come
Mhm.
and present yourself as a clean guy that smells good, that isn't a bum, that has something, some semblance of style, it's really going to help. So, yep, we're really looking for that one. Got a couple more comments here. So if you guys ask, do you fap? They say no because they are ashamed. But when you ask, do you fuck a lot? They tend to say yes, yes.
That's an ego thing. That's just an ego
Mm.
thing with guys. I've learned that one all the way back, like in high school. Like, a lot of guys overinflate things and they're not honest with you. I've always been honest with body count, with sexual experiences, with everything whenever asked. But I just noticed, and even when I was in my fraternity at school, guys just lie because they want to seem cool, and it really is. It's silly, but it is what it is.
Yeah. No. Yeah, you got your boys. You don't want to look like weak. So it's like, yeah, I've slept with 300 girls this week.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. No, I don't masturbate. I just fucked 10 girls last week. Like, okay, dude. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh, good times. Good times. Daily dose of econ. Why don't you do lives more often? Example, 2 per week. Thank you for bringing that up. It's definitely something I've had on my mind, and I think is a good segue. Huz, I was thinking that you and I do Monday, Thursday for our channel, and then maybe for Sobriety University anyway. We can add a little more. It does take some time, and it is like sometimes there isn't always guests or topics available. But no, I appreciate you bringing that up, Econ, and we'll definitely consider it and keep reaching out to folks and stuff. I'll tell you one thing. It's way more fun than doing solo videos. We just talked about this the other day because, I mean, we're interacting with you guys live. Like, that's so sick. Like, you're out there in the real world. Sometimes it can get a little boring when you're just talking to a camera every day. And then last two, guys lie about fapping because they feel shy. Definitely. Yep. That insecurity, feeling loneliness, and ashamed and guilty because of society. Dads compliment their sons who fuck a lot. I appreciate your language curtailing. Yeah. Yeah, dads are interesting. We'll have to do a topic on dads and relationships that men have with their fathers and how it makes a big difference. So, guys, before we keep going, there's this thing called the Midwestern goodbye where you say, hey, we're going to wrap it up, and you talk for another 2 hours. So I'm practicing this in my own life. So, Hans, anything you want to mention, and then we'll close it
Nope.
up.
I think it was a great discussion. And as always, if you guys want to talk one-on-one, reach out to me, and definitely check out the shows we're going to be doing at Men of Now. It's going to be really cool. I'm really excited for it.
Yep. Me too, man. Hans, thanks for coming on. Guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you in the next one. Peace.
Peace out.